Here we have the map of the Hwange district. Hwange district is 5,000 square kilometers, and the Zimbabwe River is what is, you can see this line here, is what separates the Hwange district from Kezi. It's 5,500 square kilometers. We have 3,500 square kilometers of that under our control, that we have leased, contracted, and put it all together to make this amalgamation of private land, communal area, council land, and put it all together and, you know, come up with a really decent hunting ground. And, you know, when we launched the Isibaya project, we started small in a small area and then let it grow out from there. With the 50-odd leopards that we've positively ID'd so far, that's maybe 30% of the area. We've still got a huge amount. I mean, we don't even get to hunt all of this correctly, let alone run a research and replacement program down there. So, you know, we're still developing into that and trying to get to the rest of the communities in there, and hoping that we'll increase our populations. And, you know, once we add in all the data all the way down, it'll be very nice to see exactly what the whole district holds. You know, and also with the elephants and all the other species, you know, there's certain areas where they're more prevalent than others. And yeah, that's where we're headed.
And the bulk of the elephant, where are you finding those?
So, you know, if you read back, even in Salu's books, there was no mention of elephants in the Hwange district. It just wasn't there. So the explanation for that is Hwange National Park. It's a man-made elephant heaven, and the population explosion there with overpopulation of elephants. The elephants we're getting now is an overflow coming out of the national park. There's 3 major rivers that flow along the western border of Zimbabwe, on the border with Botswana. They hit the bottom of Hwange National Park. They go underground, they literally fizzle into nothing, and then about 60 miles from that, up pops the Mahadigadis, which is a water source that comes from underground. So one would assume that these 3 rivers supply that. Anyways, the elephants, during the, you know, as the seasons start to dry out, they follow the water. The bulls that are feeling the pressure from overpopulation in Hwange National Park are following those rivers. One, it's a food source with lots of greenery along the edge of the river banks, and it's also, you know, they're digging in the rivers for water as they come. And, you know, they've gotten to these ranch farmlands where there's few people and there's lots of water. You know, the infrastructure that was put in by the farmers, small dams, those kinds of things, there's water all over this district. So it's also elephant heaven. And in the last 5 years, the elephant, you know, they'd sort of come in the dry season. As soon as the rains came, they'd go back to the park or Botswana or wherever it is they came from. Last year, they didn't leave. This year already, in March, April, when we typically don't have elephants around, we had 30, 40 bulls, and all bulls.
I was about to ask that question, because if you go across to the eastern side here, where they've gone on to areas sort of Debshan Ranch and all that, those are all bulls.
Yes.
Is it the same down here?
This is the situation that we're finding. It is 100% bulls. We do get further south, we get a population of elephants that moves in that come from Tuli. And there you pick up the odd cow and calf that move with those groups, but they're not as big groups. These groups that are coming from the west, from Hwange, are all bulls. And you get herds of 60, 70 of them at a time.
Can you, just a quick question here,
Yeah.
From the Tuli, I've always noticed from years ago, the Tuli genetics is generally a small elephant.
Correct.
Are these bigger bodied elephants? Can you see a definite
You
difference
can.
between them?
You can definitely see the Hwange bulls, and you can definitely see the Tuli bulls. There's also a slight difference in, I mean, you are getting small elephants that are coming out of Hwange that one could definitely say is a Tuli bull.
Sure.
But when you're looking at we get those really big Hwange bulls that come through here that are unmistakable, even though they've got broken off and no ivory. The body size is just massive. And there seems to be a dividing line where these bulls come to, and then they turn around and they kind of make like a route that they like to follow. They don't seem to mix. You could almost go down there and say, right, we're going to go and hunt this set of elephants. This band of resettlement seems to divide the Tuli elephants from the Hwange elephants.
Very interesting.
Not that they haven't already come through a whole pile of resettlement to get to where they are now. So Whether it is that they just don't mix, or they do mix and just decide to stay separate, I don't know. But I mean, one would assume there has to be some mixing along the line, but it is definite that there are two different groups of elephants.
With all your research now, it's pretty focused on leopard at the moment.
Correct.
Is it your future plans to start doing similar things with the elephant and the migrations of the elephant down here and the protection of them?
Definitely. As a hunting outfitter in the area, the human-wildlife conflict is already huge with the leopard population and the predators. The elephants being a newcomer, it is definitely something we are going to have to, we can not necessarily focus on, but we're definitely going to have to make adjustments in the Isibaya program to, mitigate those issues that the elephants bring with them. During the cropping season, all of the infrastructure with the dams and things that was put in here was for cattle ranching. Now you get these big herds of elephants that are coming in. Their dams that wouldn't dry in from rainy season to dry season are now drying because the elephants are getting in there, churning up the mud, the water's disappearing. The people get unhappy about it. You get certain areas where the people are used to elephants, they've lived with them, they were born there, and the elephants were there when they came about and they know how to handle them. These people have no idea. You can imagine it must be daunting, but it is, something through the Isibaya program. We hope education as well, as we're out there explaining how to go about managing being out in the field where there's elephants, how to, don't go and follow them because you want to see them. Those kinds of things we can explain to the locals not to do. And then with regard to like during cropping season, it was commonly done in the old days that if a herd of elephants got into a field, it damaged the field, you would take somebody, have it assessed, and they would equate what was in that field to bags of maize meal. And you can then replace for them what they've lost in the field, and you replace it for them, with stock. That way, preventing problem animal control. You are always going to get young elephants that are constantly causing issues for whatever reason. Those elephants might have to be dealt with, but for the communities that are there, we hope that, from a problem animal perspective, we can kind of alleviate that a little bit because, start replacing what they've lost. Same as we do with the livestock, we can start to do that with their fields and crops as well. For us as a hunting operation, it's wonderful to have them there, but we're going to have to focus on how we make it possible for the communities to live with the elephants as well. We want the elephants there. It's business. It's wonderful to have them there. Nice to have a new population of elephants establishing, but we also have to make sure that the locals are taken care of. It's not fair on us to want the elephants there and the locals suffer. It's going to be a long process, but we hope we'll get there.